Yo, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my new series I'm calling Inside the Life of. This is going to be a long-form conversation series in which I'm going to be talking to your favorite athletes and individuals in the space about their lives, about obviously like everything to do with their competitor side, but also a lot of things that you may not know about them, things I may not know about them, that I want to know, things about general life. This first episode is with the one and only Dani Speegle. As you may or may not know, this was actually originally going to be a day in the life episode, but it ended up working out beautifully for her to be the first guest on this show. I'm going to explain at the beginning of the show why that's the case with Dani, so you'll see in 10 seconds. But be sure, guys, if you aren't already, if you're new to the channel, if you enjoy the content I'm putting out, go down, hit that subscribe button. I can't tell you how much it helps out the channel and will help me to continue to create content for you guys. Without any further ado, the first episode of Inside the Life of with the one and only Dani Speegle. My name is Nate, and I have a creative void that I'm looking to fill. And this is how I plan to do it.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
You guys might have seen him on our vlog. His name is Nate Edwardson.
Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I've been on the flex since flex on. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear none. My line busy, take no calls. Feels like
See that gap in the middle there? This is me editing. This is future Nate. There was 5 minutes at the beginning of the conversation where Dan and I addressed why we're doing an interview and not the day in the life video. But the first 5 minutes, there was some problems, technical issues, we'll call it. I'm still learning with this. I'm going to be improving the interview setup as we go. But let me just quickly. So essentially what happened was I flew across the country to go shoot a day in the life video with Dani. I flew 6 hours. I got to where my connecting flight was, only to have my connecting flight to Dani canceled and to not be able to be rescheduled until it was too late for me to go see Dani. So we made lemonade out of lemons, and I wanted to start this interview series anyways. Dani was the perfect first guest, so we decided to do this. This does not mean that I will never be doing a day in the life of Dani. We've already rescheduled. It's happening 2020, but I wanted to start this anyways, and it just made sense. So yeah, that was the first like 5 minutes of the podcast that I missed out on, but we're jumping back in right now. So I'm filling the gap, and there you go.
That's how that went.
That's funny. So was it an immediate jump to competing though? Because like what was there, like you just went to like regular classes for a bit and then decided you wanted to compete, or was it like instantly you were into the competition side?
It was pretty much instantaneous. I did my first competition was like a really, really small local competition called Festivus Games, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So I did that, I think about 3 months after joining my first class. And then I did Dani Camargo's, the gauntlet competition like over here in Florida, and then I did crush games. I just started like building. And then in 2017 I did team regionals, and then after that I decided that I wanted to go ahead and like really get competitive, and I did individual regionals. And then the year after that is when regionals went away, and I was like, oh no, like everybody like, oh no, like what am I gonna do? And then the sanctionals came out
right.
The year that I went to the game. So it was cool. It was a cool transition.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got in one regional experience before they disappeared, but I do like the setup now.
Right.
Rather than the regional, yeah.
What was it like coming up so quickly? I mean, I'm sure you're still going through it, but like what was it like coming up so quickly and going from like, you know, you said your first 2 regionals and then all of a sudden like boom, games, and now you're very well known in the space, and what was that process all like?
It's a bit surreal. It was kind of, it just like seemed everything was like in fast forward mode. I was just yesterday I was terrified to get out onto the floor at regionals. Now I feel more confident like going to these sanctioned events, confident that I'll do better at the games. So it was a bit of a shock, to be honest with you. I knew from very early on that I wanted to do this at a competitive level and that I could be good at it. Honestly, I knew genetically I had really good genetics for CrossFit. I was right around the right height. I was just naturally strong. I had the gymnastics background, which gave me body awareness, which you need for a lot of the Olympic lifts and just for a lot of the odd object stuff that happens in CrossFit. So I had a hunch that I could be pretty good, but to excel as quick as I did was a shock to myself as well. but it really just came down to after my team regionals and really after my individual regional, I was like, there are some changes I'm gonna need to make. I can't just rely on natural talent anymore. Like, I need to get my nutrition under control. I need to actually have a coach who's programming for me, because when I was programming for myself, I was like, oh yeah, heavy snatches every day. No, I don't want to do that running one. I'll do great muscle ups next week. And so changing a couple things like that really kind of boosted the progress. But it's amazing, those little tweaks and changes to your regular routine will, like, the dramatic effect they'll have. But yeah, overall it was super fast, and I guess it's still shocking to me. I'm still kind of like, ooh, like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I totally get it. It's funny, like, when things happen quickly, you find yourself just like, it's life. Every day is just every day. And so it doesn't feel crazy until you sit and think about it or talk about it. And then you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Like, day to day, things don't seem to be changing all that much. But if I really, like, sat down and was like, wow, like, 4 years ago, my life was completely different. I was, in school getting a marine biology degree, and my plan was to go and spend, half a year on a research vessel and just, like, not even be on land.
Right.
Now it just, like, completely turned. So it's cool. It's very funny to think about.
Yeah, I hear it. So, I mean, in that time, you kind of touched on them, and there are things I want to get into, but you said, like, coach and nutrition were the two that stood out. So obviously, when you saw that you were excelling and you needed to make those changes, where did you go? Who did you find? What are you doing now, coaching nutrition-wise?
So when I did team regionals, one of my teammates actually became my boyfriend, who became my coach, who became nutritionist, became just kind of everything.
Oh, cool.
So it really blossomed from there. After team regionals, I went to him, and at the time he was dabbling in a lot of different programs. He wanted to just see what everybody was doing and create his own program. So at the time when we were doing team regionals, we all followed the Mayhem programming, what's Rich doing. And so from there, I was like, hey, I know team regionals over, but can I just, like, start training with you, like, on a regular basis? And he, like, of course said yes. And then after that, we started like dating, and then from there I sat down with him and I was like, I want to really excel at this, but I know I need more specific training and help. So from there we devised, a coaching plan, nutrition plan, and then that's all she wrote. So it kind of, it bloomed naturally.
Right. How's that? That's, I've had that conversation a couple times because I've run into it a few times with some of the athletes I've done the series with, but like that relationship, that's interesting. I coached for like 6 years, and like when my girlfriend started CrossFit, if I ever gave her a cue ever, she wouldn't talk to me for like 3 days. So like, how does that whole situation balance?
It's very much like that.
Okay.
You gotta, like, suck up and, like, kind of get over. Alex, that's boyfriend coach. He takes a beating from me, like, pretty much every week. It's hard because you have that fine line where if it was just, if he was just my coach, there was, like, a certain level where, you can't, the line, you can't cross. You can't just, like, you can't, for lack of something more eloquent, you can't just tell him to fuck off.
Yeah,
just,
for sure.
Get out of my face. So having him there, there's a natural just comfortability where you can just be a little bit more expressive. So he does get, like, I'm in his face, like, all the time, and he just knows, like, oh, okay. But it's funny because, like, if I'm doing a workout, especially if it's like an open workout or something for a qualifier, anybody and everybody else can cheer me on. But if Alex says one thing to me, I just, shut up, I'm trying. It could be something so encouraging. Like, hey, like, let's go, like, hey, like, come on, 10 more seconds. I'm like, I know, I can see the fucking clock. It's like, but if anybody else said that to me, you'd be like, thanks, like, I'm going hard. So it's difficult for sure to find that line, but it's also great because he knows me better than anyone. He knows when I maybe need to take a morning off because I had a really rough session, because he also is my training partner. I know a lot of coaches will sit there and just watch their athletes, and they'll watch their workouts and they'll critique, but Alex is in there doing every single workout with me every single day. So he knows probably better than a lot of coaches how my body's actually feeling. So he adjusts programming based on that. He knows when I've had a late night and I might need to take a morning off. So it's good in that aspect. absolutely. But definitely at each other's. I can't even say at each other's because he's like wonderful. He just can't get away with so much shit, but it's me.
He's just protecting his throat the whole time.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, we're gonna do this cardio session this morning, and just kind of like he's like yelling it from across the gym, so I don't have a chance to like yell at him. So he's like, hey. So that's how that goes.
That's funny. What is like the general like structure of your training? Like, are you biased in one way or the other? Like, what's kind of the flow day to day?
Personally biased. Like, I always am happy when I see a heavy barbell, heavy dumbbell, heavy sandbag. I'm like, okay, perfect. But don't get that all the time anymore. So a big shift is like a lot of longer cardio sessions. Just has always been a weakness of mine. I grew up doing explosive sports. I grew up doing sprints and track, and gymnastics, like the most that I ever ran really was the vault runway or like a tumbling pass. So it was like the sprints were always going to be something that was great for me, but I didn't grow up playing soccer where maybe in a game you ran 3 to 4 miles total. So the longer endurance running events have always been, a big weakness of mine. So incorporating that more and more, we're doing like Thursdays, active recovery, did a long swim session this morning, doing long runs, doing second session, big cardio things Saturdays. So those have been definitely incorporated a lot more ever since, for the past year, but definitely after the games. It was a big change. But.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Do you find though that like when the programming is so close to home, like having your boyfriend doing it, is it harder for you to like do all those things that you really don't want to do because you're kind of like right there with him while he's programming and there's influence? Like, does that ever come into play at all?
In a way, it definitely does, but it's so hard to be like, oh, I don't want to do this when he's also doing it. It'd be one thing if he was like writing out this program and being like, okay, like, go do this. I'm gonna watch you just stuff while I sit here and like take notes. I think I would struggle with it a lot more, but he's like writing out this like grueling stuff, and then he's also strapping up his laces the same as I am. So it's more difficult to be mad at him in that aspect.
Right.
But a lot of my strengths are his weaknesses and vice versa. So he's got an engine. So swimming, long running, bike, skier, all those things that I necessarily do not love, he's really good at. And if there's one thing, like I can gracefully, lose a wad to a lot of people, but not Alex. So it's like it's almost like better because I'm so competitive with him that the things that he's better at, he just pushes me to get better. So in a way, it kind of comes up like I will 6:30 in the morning, and he wants me to do 3 miles of intervals on the air runner. I'll throw some attitude, but he's doing it with me, so I do it.
Right, and you're not going to lose to him, so you really do it.
Oh, I lose. I do, but I try so hard not to. But there are some there's like a cardio thing mixed with a heavy barbell. Like I'll really like go for it. But running intervals, biking intervals, I keep telling myself like one day I'll be in.
Yeah.
one day I'll get it. So it's like one of those things.
Yeah. What about the nutrition side? What does that look like? Like you said he's doing your nutrition too, right?
Yeah, so he does my macros, and it's pretty much like he helps me, carb cycle, like when there's like lower intensity days. So he's taught me a lot about that. He's not, overbearing on that side at all. I think he's too smart to like really try to like get under my skin on that aspect as well. I don't think our relationship would take it if he was like, like put that cheese down. Listen, buddy. So he just like, he is a background, almost just like, here are your numbers. Like, if you want to do well, you know what you have to do. So I'm giving you the foundation to succeed. It's up to you from that point on, which I think works for me in a lot of aspects. And he keeps me like on track when we travel. Like that's how he really like keeps me on track. He motivates me not to maybe just do the quick, restaurant type of meal, but we go to a grocery store and we, create our own little deconstructed meal of some sort to where I can like easily log it, easily track. So he helps a lot in that way. But like I said, he doesn't like send me your log every single day. Like, it's not like that kind of relationship in the nutrition aspect.
Yeah, well, I think that would almost be like easier because, you know, like if you're traveling, especially with your significant other, and they're not doing the exact same thing, or they're not the ones really encouraging you to do it, it's like they're probably just going to do the quick fix, you know what I mean? Like grab the pizza, grab the burger, and then you become an inconvenience, which makes it harder for you. But if you're not an inconvenience because it's what's being done anyways, then you know what I mean? Like I feel like it would kind of equal out a little bit easier.
100%. And he's very meticulous with it. Like he doesn't really splurge and like go off his macros like at all. It was like at Thanksgiving when we were at his family's house for Thanksgiving, the whole family kind of like shocked and like stopped when Alex grabbed his tiny little slice of like this apple tart. Everyone was like, what are you doing? Are you gonna have this? Like you? And then it was like great because he since he was like 13, he was doing Olympic weightlifting and would have salad for breakfast while everybody else was having like cereal. Like he doesn't doesn't enjoy cereal, and it's like so weird to me. And
I love cereal.
Like it's me too. I need a whole box. What's in it? Boom, done.
Yep.
And then I have milk left over, so I need more cereal to finish the milk. So like all of a sudden I'm like a box and a half deep. And he's never had to go through that, and he just does it. He's like so good about it, and it's so easy when we're traveling because he'll just be like, no, I'm just gonna go to Whole Foods and I'm gonna like create this little meal. Or I'm just gonna do this. So it is because I being around friends, and it's hard, you know, socially going out with people who are just like not on the same macro structure, or just not in the same lifestyle at all.
Right.
And that people are just like, you know, like, oh, like whatever. And it's hard because like people are like, oh, we get it. Like Dani's on her macros, and like I'm pulling out my little like container, and they're like, oh, okay. So it's easy having a significant other who is even more meticulous than I am, and more strict about it than I am. So it definitely is it's a plus, for sure. Totally. It's annoying, but it's a plus.
What is the Girls Who Eat Club?
Oh, okay, so this is like my favorite.
Yeah, I see it all over your Instagram.
So Jessica Griffith and I just, we really hit it off at Granite Games when we did team like earlier this year, and we were just talking about like how much we love to eat. And on the first day so we like kind of like we chit-chatted, we'd seen each other at sanctional events, we talked on Instagram, and then finally we came together to do a team for Granite Games, and we landed at the airport, and that day legitimately had Chipotle twice, and we were both totally fine with it. We were so happy about it, and we like chilled out, and we just like talked about food. Probably if you put all the time spent talking about food on that first day, it was probably a good 3 hours, like just talking about food. And so we were like, it just kind of like became this thing. Like we were just like walking into our second Chipotle, and we were just like, you know, like we're girls who eat. Like we love to eat, and then it just like became a hashtag, and it was just something that we use now. And I love the concept of like women like not being scared to enjoy food,
right?
Especially enjoy food publicly. Like it used to be kind of like a taboo subject for like a girl to eat more than a salad, like on date night, and it's like, no, I'll eat more than you. And
I'm eating the steak.
No questions asked. Like, yeah, a steak. Like I'm gonna order 2 actually. If you could just sit here and watch, like while you enjoy your salad. So it just kind of blossomed into this thing, and now it just became like something that we associate with. We have like cute little headbands coming out soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's becoming a thing. We'll get you a headband.
Yeah, give me a headband for sure. Yeah, I noticed because my friend, our friend Amanda, she like got invited into it in New York, right? She was like posting all about it, and that's kind of how I actually like really noticed it for the first time. So now there's 3 of you.
There's 3 of us, and then Alex, he's like the guy who eats. He's like really trying to like get into the club. He's like, where his resume is still like under evaluation.
Right.
We might let there be an exception.
Right. Are you guys accepting applications, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just tag us, in the story.
Nice.
Like your biggest like juiciest meal. We'll take it under consideration.
That's awesome. What why does that, like the Girls Who Eat thing, just to pick it apart a little bit more, like it's cool, you're right, and it is something I think that's like I can see as a bit more than just like a joke hashtag for you. Like what does it really represent to you, and like why is it something that you're kind of like into and passionate about?
I just think more it goes along the lines of like body image. It's
Right.
just you know, women are beautiful, all shapes and sizes, and
Right.
I think a lot of mainstream media did a really bad job of doing the whole healthy body image thing, not just in sense of like models now, you know, like back in the day were stick thin and had a lot of eating disorders. But even like mainstream stuff today, I think a lot of it is being more geared towards like body image. Like you should be super happy with how you look no matter what, instead of being happy with what your body naturally would be. And I think it's causing a lot of unhealthy habits in a lot of people, because there is a lot of there's an obesity problem, definitely 100%. And I think a lot of mainstream media now is like so scared to talk about healthy weight that they're just like, no matter what you are or what you're doing, like love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which 100% you should love yourself, but there's a point when I think you should also be healthy.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to kind of convey is like, you can enjoy all these things. You can be a girl who eats, but don't be sedentary.
Right.
And it's kind of, we are girls who eat, but we work our asses off and we earn these huge extravagant meals. So that's kind of like, we want it to be a healthier way, like eat, but healthy.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it's cool because it's like, that is, I mean, it's a very like hard topic, controversial topic to talk about, especially as a guy, because like, you know, a lot of the pro body image stuff coming on is like, unfortunately, it's been cast against women historically, and now it's like the movement is very much towards loving yourself and positive body image, which is amazing. But like, where, you kind of touched on it there, but like, where is that line between like when somebody is like, for lack of better terms, like is overweight to the point where like potentially it's gonna make them unhealthy either currently or down the road or whatever? Where is kind of that line you find between like being like confident and proud of yourself and whatever the descriptive factors are, and then being like, oh, maybe I should make a slight change for myself, not for anyone else, but for my, like, where does that fall?
Yeah, and it's a difficult line. Like I do my own like nutrition coaching, and it is like, it's difficult to sit down and have a conversation, guy or girl, when it's like, hey, like, yeah, I'm here to help, you know, but we're at a point where I'm concerned not about body image, not about what you're doing day to day, but your health. Mm-hmm. And it's always hard to have that conversation, and I can definitely see why a lot of like media, like mainstream media especially, like doesn't even want to go near that topic.
Even me just like asking you that question, I'm like, am I gonna get canceled? Like, I really gotta be careful here.
I'm over here like, I'm gonna like just get so much hate mail.
I mean, you'll probably be fine, you're a girl. I'm the one who like, I just started this YouTube thing, like, I don't know.
But it's like something that I think needs to have some eyes, and I think needs to like draw some attention to. Like, absolutely love yourself, love what you're doing, love your body, love your, you know, love your internal, like your personality, love who you are as a person, and then take a step back and say like, I can love myself, but am I healthy? Like that's really like the simplest way you can put it, just like health, body and health.
And I think the love yourself thing, like, really, if you break it down, like it shouldn't be about body image. Like, yeah, you want to look in the mirror and be happy, but like loving yourself is more than that. It's also like loving yourself, caring about how you actually feel. You know what I mean? Like how you feel day to day. Can you do the things you want to do? Are your biomarkers okay? So you're living a healthy life. Like, I think maybe that's where like the people in our world, like in the CrossFit world, kind of have that realization versus like in the mainstream world where it's just like, they're not even going to touch it or go into it at all. It's just like, no matter what, it's fine. Where it's like, in the more health-centered world of CrossFit and fitness, it's kind of like, yes, it's fine from like a body image and no one's going to shame you for anything like that. But like, let's just take a look at like, do you feel good? Do you know what I mean? Can you do the things you want to do day to day? That kind of stuff.
And like to touch on that, I actually heard Julie Fouché say something that was so profound that it just like, I sat down and like really had to think about it. And she was saying that a lot of people who, you know, aside from CrossFit, but just like the day-to-day person, have no idea how bad they actually feel. They just have no concept of it. And that, like, I had to sit back and like really think about that. And it's true, because like nowadays, with me, like I expect to feel a certain way every single day, but so does the average person who might be a little overweight. It's like, this is what they've become accustomed to. So they have no idea really how bad they feel and how good they could feel if they would just tweak a couple things in their life. And it's just amazing. Like, you know, you get used to like what you're supposed to feel on a day-to-day basis, and it's hard to get out of that cycle sometimes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like Julie Fouché said that on one of her podcasts, and I had to take like a step back, and I was like, dang, like how do you talk to someone who's like, no, this is how I'm supposed to feel. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, totally. To bridge the little bit we were talking about the early come up in the sport, and now we're kind of talking about the social media and body image side. Like how has that all been for you? Like how has the jolt into this, like whatever you want to call it, like CrossFit fame, this kind of like closed in community of people who are there and like very passionate about everything, how has that been for you? How's that journey been?
For the most part, wonderful. People are very, very, very kind and supportive and loving, and it's wonderful having fans, and it's wonderful seeing fans at these different competitions. It's an honor. It's like an honor, like go and like have people want to talk to you and they're interested in your life and they follow you on Instagram, and you know, it's a really good aspect to have on top of being like a professional athlete. It's nice to feel support, but then again, you know, there's always the bad stuff. You know, the steroid talk. And mm-hmm. Is that food?
That's food.
Hashtag Girls Who Eat Club.
Hashtag Girls Who Eat. So excited. Yay. But there's always like bad stuff when it comes to like the social media. I think on average, you know, 2-3 times a week I get, you know, like are you on steroids? Like, I know you're on steroids. Like, why don't you just admit it? And I'm like, okay. And I get sent awful pictures, and I get asked for foot pictures all the time. Like, that's a big one right now.
Foot pictures. I know. Oh man, every girl I talk to, all the CrossFit, but also just like influencers in like other spaces, it's all like, it's so weird.
It is, and it was like the first time I got introduced to this whole like foot fetish thing, I had a person legitimately email me. They found my email and they like created a whole LinkedIn account to where they were like K Jewelers, and they're like, we're trying to go on this athletic, you know, commercial series, and we want just like, and they were like offering like all these things, and I went up their name, and like they had created a LinkedIn K Jewelers like site like for themselves. So I was like, oh, this seems like pretty legit. So I like emailed back, and I was just like, well, like I need some more information, like blah blah blah, and they were like, the whole email was like beautiful, and then at the very end they were like, but to like really, you know, hire you and everything, we just need a couple photos of your feet. And then it got really like specific. They were like, so we need one angle of you scrunching your feet, and then I would need one like with the arc of your arch, and then I need one of you like, and I was like, okay, this probably good. But went through like such extreme lengths, and I was like, dude, like, so that was how that went. But now I get them all the time. And one time I was like so sick of it, like it was. For some reason, it was a really hot day to ask Dani for pictures of feet. So it was like the 6th one that I got that day, and was like, are you kidding me? Like, and I was just like, I was like, whatever. Like, Alex and I were like in bed, and I was just like jokingly, I was just like, my Venmo is this. If you send me $500, I'll give you a foot. And all of a sudden I had a notification that I had $500 in my Venmo, and I was like, So I was sitting there, and I like turned to Alex, and I was like, I'm gonna need you to take a picture of my feet. So I did. I have sent one foot photo. So there's a fun fact about Dani. But
dude, you can make bank on foot photos.
I was like,
it's
for real?
No, it's nuts. Like $500 for a photo, like. No, not even. Like, you could go so much higher and so much. Girls literally have private Snapchats that's just the feet. Like a private Snapchat for just foot stuff, and it like, yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy. It is crazy out there. Like the social media side, like there are some days where I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, what are people nowadays? But the majority of it is very wonderful and positive and just wonderful is like the word I'm going to use.
Right.
But yeah, there's always the nasty stuff.
Yeah. How do you, so the one, and this is kind of like a world like I've kind of like just started to come into and learn, but like comment sections and I mean DMs, but I feel like a lot of the worst stuff kind of gets said in comment sections because it's less personal. How do you deal with that? Like mentally, like do you ignore it? Do you reply? Do you blast people? Like what's kind of like your, for like just generally mean stuff?
I honestly like don't personally like, go through my comment section.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that I'm shown, it's usually like a friend or someone being like, "Have you seen this?" And my father frequents my comment section.
That's not
so
good.
I'll get like a call from Dad, and I'm just like, "Dad, like you gotta stay out of there."
Yeah.
But I usually like stay out of my comment section.
Yeah.
If it's like at the top of my feed, because usually like Instagram like shows you like your close friends or people you follow, and I'll respond to some of those. Occasionally, like I'll just glance through and I'll see someone asking a specific question and I'll like respond. But I really don't frequent my comment section all that much. I just find that 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna leave really pissed off. So I just kind of stay away from it. I don't usually blast people. The only time is like usually if I get like a DM that I just find like super disrespectful. I've only done it twice, like really, and 2 of them it was just like I couldn't stand it anymore. One was, it was like the 8th time this guy had like sent me like nude photos, and I was like, all right, well, you're going up on my story, like I'm just gonna let my followers like take care of that. And I never got another one after that, so I was happy with the results. And then another one was like, it was just a situation where a guy kept like saying like really intimate and like gross things in my DM, and I finally like went and looked at his profile, and he was recently married, had like 3 kids.
It's the
and I was like, and it had been like not just like one time, it had been like a span. So I did put him on my story and tagged his wife, and I was like, I'm gonna let that unfold. And I got really mixed reviews from my followers. Like I had so many girls that were like, yeah, get him, and then guys were like, why'd you gotta do him like that? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you can defend him all you want, but okay.
Yeah.
So I usually try like to stay out of it, but there have been a couple times where it's like I've reached my limit on that day.
For sure. Yeah, it's weird. Like it's a weird world, and like coming into it quickly, I know you can relate to too. It's like it all of a sudden it just like, who is this person saying these things to me? And it's like it feels like a person, but it's almost kind of not, because like 99% no chance they would come up and say anything similar to your face ever. Even the people who are spitting hate, it's like, oh my god, I'm such a big fan, like so nice to meet you. The same person that would talk crazy crap online
immediately and just be like, oh, she sucks.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird too, like you said with like the bio thing. I put out a sticker the other day asking a question on my Instagram story, and someone replied with just like the weirdest response ever, with like talking about crystal meth and like just random stuff. And then I click on their profile, and the first thing in capital letters is "I love God," and I'm like, okay. Yeah, like that was a surprise.
Yeah. Those are like honestly the ones that just like make me chuckle. Like there was I had one, like she was like 60 years old, and she like talked to me about how I wasn't feminine, and I was like destroying the vision of like what women should be, and I should learn my place, and like all this stuff. I was like, who is this person? I went, and it was like some grandma that like had nothing but pictures, like really bad angled pictures of her face and cats. Yeah. And I was like, oh, honey, like let's just talk.
Seriously.
Let's just talk this out, because you got like something is going on. But it's always like, and she would never on the street. She'd probably be so kind, and it's always things like that. Is Instagram and social media platforms nowadays have given people just like this false sense of security where they can just like say really cruel things as well.
Yeah, it's a mask. It's a mask for a lot of people, and it's like a lot of people will use it as like an outlet too. Like it's easy to say that like those people are really just like awful, mean people, but like a lot of them probably are honestly just like really sad people who like have no other way to like to get that out, I guess, or like no one to talk to or whatever. And so like, I don't know, whenever I get stuff like that and whenever I see stuff like that, like the first thing that goes in my mind is I'm just like, I feel bad, you know what I mean? Like genuinely, like that's not just like, I know it's a popular thing to say, but like I genuinely am like, I've never commented on a YouTube video in my life. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. All I watch is YouTube. I watch more YouTube videos than anyone. YouTube is my life. I have never once commented on a YouTube video, positive or negative. So it's like the people who do that and take the time out of their day to do that, I'm like you don't have anything better to do, and like you know what I mean? Like I just like, man, that sucks.
It's like the same thing. Like you always like these things. Like I just take it with a grain of salt because it's usually like if you ever go and click on the profiles, it's either someone who you can just like tell isn't a happy person, or it's a profile that doesn't even have a profile picture. And this is what they do like with their day. They just go and like hate on anyone that they find, and it's like that is such a miserable way to spend your life. And so I just have to like. I'm super happy. Like life is so good.
Exactly.
So it's like I can just like I'll just keep going. I'll just keep scrolling. I'm like, okay, enjoy your day.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, it's interesting to chat about it too, because it's like that's something again. Like kind of recently, I just made the decision. I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna look at the comments on my YouTube videos because like there's just like a lot of them are positive, and like I love that people are wanting to engage, but like I think most of the people who like really follow me know that like send me a DM and I'll reply pretty much every time. Like if you want to say something and have a conversation, like. Great, but like things like the comment sections is just like, even if you look at it and you're like, I'm not gonna let this affect me, like every once in a while there's the one thing where it's like you were kind of wondering that, and like maybe it's like a little self, and you're like, ah! You know what I mean? Like, damn it.
Yeah, and they say it and it's just like that dagger into your heart, and it's like one of those things that you carry around, and like 4 hours later you're like, God.
I know. And
I've had those for sure.
Yeah, and it's like to some extent it's like, okay, well you have to be able and willing to like take, especially in my space where like the creative is my job. Like obviously you're an athlete and like the social media creative is kind of like a part of that, but it's not the main thing. For me, that's the main thing. And so like being able to take criticism and take critique is good, but like a lot of the time I'm just like, I'm doing this because I love it. Like I'm making what I want to make, and like if you don't like it, don't follow me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not out here trying to make like Mr. Beast, like tied up my friends together for 24 hours and they won 50. Like I'm not trying to clickbait everything and like make the biggest bet. So like if you don't like it, just don't watch. You know what I mean? Or if you don't like it, just don't follow me.
Yeah, just like an unfollow. And like that's like the main thing is like there are people that are just like, the things that they'll say. I'm like just go follow somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, why are you trying to ruin my day?
Yeah, totally. What do you feel, shifting gears, staying on social, but shifting the gears a little bit towards you, like, do you feel now, especially again, because your come up was fast and you have a big following now or whatever, like, was there any, like, new sense of, like, responsibility or anything with it where you were like, whoa, like, I should make sure I don't do this or talk about this or promote, like, was there any kind of, like, I don't know, responsibility to all that you felt?
It was more opportunity than responsibility. Cool. So I felt a sense of I can finally talk about what it was like to go from someone who was very, very self-conscious, had a lot of self-esteem issues, was, I didn't have a healthy body image. I was really, negative with myself, and I transformed myself, my body, my mind, and was able to come out into such a wonderful sport and wonderful way of life that I love to share that journey with a lot of people who I find are struggling with a lot of the same things that I used to struggle with. And so I found an opportunity to try to inspire a lot of people, women and men. And so I felt just a sense of almost like gratitude that I was able to just distinctly be able to have a path that I wanted to take with my brand as an athlete. So I was really happy with that. The responsibility thing more came of I didn't want to ever promote like a negative. Mm-hmm. So, anything of that, like responsibility is just to like not ever promote anything that I don't believe in. So I never tried to, partner with a company for money purposes that I didn't truly believe in. So like that really drove a lot of like my contractual things in the CrossFit space business wise. So I felt a responsibility to be true to myself and be true to the people who respected me enough to follow my journey. So that's where that aspect came in. But mostly it was just like an opportunity to be able to help and inspire people.
Right. Do you consider yourself a role model? I
would like to, yeah. I would say that's definitely something that I'm trying to be. I think there are a lot of definitions of like what a role model could be, especially like nowadays. But I would say definitely in some aspects, yeah, I would.
Yeah. What's your message? What's your brand? What are you then trying to influence with that?
I just wanna continue to break down like boundaries and stereotypes when it comes to women. We don't have to just, conform to be one thing. We can be really strong, but we can also be beautiful. We can be powerful and graceful. We can be a professional athlete, but we can have a mind. We can run a business and run, an athletic career. And I just always want to keep breaking down those walls and just mind the gap between men and women. And I think that's a big thing that I'm trying to do, and I think a lot of the women in the sport are trying to do, and they're doing a phenomenal job of doing it as well.
Well, I think it's really cool because I think you guys, specifically women in the sport of CrossFit, have such a crazy cool opportunity, because I would say it's one of the main sports where there is, I feel, and again, I don't know, I'm a guy, maybe I don't see it, but I'm especially in the last couple of years, I am so much more excited to watch the women's competition than the men's. I've pretty much ignored the men's competition for the last 4 years because it's where do you know what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Cool. And to be honest, there hasn't really been that many cool races and whatever. And for me, it's that has been way more interesting. And it's cool because traditionally in a lot of sports, if you look at the NBA versus the WNBA and, you could go on, there's a big gap, you know what I mean, between viewership and between funding and all that kind of stuff. Whereas in CrossFit, it's neat because the prize pools are exactly the same. The viewership is, well, I don't know what the viewership is, but I'm assuming it's exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful as well. And the women's competition is super fierce, and it's exciting every single time. Even if there's a sanctioned event that I'm not competing in, it's always no matter who's competing, it's always kind of like a coin toss. I don't know, I don't know who's gonna win this one. And it's really interesting and it's exciting. It makes it fun, to be honest with you, especially as a spectator, but also as a competitor, because you got to be on top of it all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. What about, so you touched on it before, but what about the business side of things? That's the other side of the brand, other than deciding kind of what you're going to represent and the message you want to promote. It seems awesomely that you're pretty on top of that side of it. And the reality is that when you get a platform, you're always going to have the ability to monetize that platform and to create offsets from it to do other things that will obviously help you, in your case, be an athlete, but also set you up a bit for life after an athlete. So what has that kind of process looked like for you when you started to acquire this platform and have these opportunities?
So having the following, able to create the business that I do, the fitness and the nutrition business that I do. So I have fitness programs ranging from anyone who just wants to, lose some weight, get in shape, all the way up to my competitors program, which is exactly like my daily log. So I have that, and then I have the nutrition, and everything generally was to continue to promote what I wanted to promote, which was healthy lifestyle, helping people. So having that platform just allowed me to more easily transition into that. And having that almost in kind of a back pocket, so when my body tells me it's time to stop competing, I'll have something that still keeps me in the sport that I've really grown to have a passion for.
Right.
And still do what I've always wanted to do, which was help people discover a healthier lifestyle. So that's been absolutely wonderful. The platform has definitely given me the ability to grow that brand and be able to turn it into a legitimate business. So again, it's just another, kind of a shout out to the people who trust and respect me enough to follow my journey, and trust and respect me enough to follow that business as well. So it's been wonderful.
Do you consider yourself entrepreneurial in nature?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I definitely, I created my own business, Dell Athletics, and it's we just acquired an LLC, so it's
congrats.
Yeah.
Was that a, I guess my question more is was that a byproduct of the opportunity, or were you like flipping Coke bottles in your locker at school kind of person? Like, have you always been like very entrepreneurial, or has that developed?
It's been a little bit of both. So I was on one path. Like, since I was 3, I was like, I'm gonna be a marine biologist. I'm gonna go and play with fish. I'm gonna go and save the oceans. And so it was a very one-track path, but I wanted to do it in my own way. So I knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't creating my own like job in a sense, but I just wanted to like kind of loophole and get around like doing it my own way. Like, I didn't want to do like the whole like research paper type of deal. I just wanted to go out and do it and like be like in the thick of it. You probably don't follow her, but she, Ocean Ramsey, like on Instagram, she like does like shark conservation, and she like created her own ability to do her own job and like through social media. And I found that and was like, okay, well, I found a love for this, and like I'm just going to, you know, eventually bring it back to like a business standpoint. So I think the entrepreneurial spirit more came from after I started CrossFit and realized that because of the way life is set up now and because of social media platforms, it's so much easier and there's so much more opportunity to create and label yourself in a job sense than it ever has before. You can just make up a title and create an Instagram account, and you can just like, but like it's true, and it's like it's completely legitimate, and it's an amazing time to be alive. Like, like lack of a better phrase, but you know, the opportunities and just the ease of it nowadays. If you have something that you're passionate about, you know, people can kind of dabble in this here and there, and if you're not passionate about it, it kind of really easily comes across. If you're not good at it, it comes across. So as long as you like choose the right thing for you, it's easy to give yourself a business or give yourself a title. And so I think it came from that, from the CrossFit, but also just how life is nowadays. It was pretty easy to be like, okay, I'm gonna do a business based upon this social media platform that I have gained from this athletic career. So it was kind of a piggyback process.
Yeah, that's super cool, because like that's my entire brand, like personified, is like, if I call it like dream it, do it is kind of like the slogan. And it's like just the idea that like literally we are living in the craziest time ever. You know what I mean? Like anybody can be anything they want to do, and you can monetize it. Literally anything. Like you could be obsessed with like Civil War era muskets, and like you could start a podcast talking about Civil War era muskets, and like you can gain a following and you can monetize it, and you can flip them on eBay, and like your whole world could, you know what I mean? Like even like what I'm doing right now, like if you would have told me like even like 10 months ago that it would be a job, like when I first started making videos, it was like iPhone, iMovie, and I got 3 views of vlog. I made like 200 videos, but it was like that you develop the passion, and then you realize that now there are these opportunities to like go do this, and it's something that like I'm very passionate about sharing. And then like when I deal with athletes who have platforms, like it's very interesting for me to see like you and me are yin and yang. Like this is great, like this clicks easy because like very similar minded. But there are a lot of athletes I'll talk to who are like much less either understanding or passionate about capitalizing on what they have right now with their following and their platform. And like to as much as you might have it, I think it does take a little bit of that mindset as well, which may or may not be able to be learned. Like whether you see these opportunities and you're like, okay, I'm going to create this. A lot of people can't have a hard time creating something out of nothing and seeing the vision, do you know what I mean? Without having it just like right there in front of them. So I think it's cool that you're able to kind of like see these opportunities and see that like this CrossFit thing doesn't just have to be your competition career. Like you have the opportunity to create a lifelong setup for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's again, it's like back to the whole surreal feeling because it happens so fast. And I realized very early on, I think it was still like before my individual regional debut, where I was like, there are so many athletes who I have no idea what they're going to do when they're no longer competing. And I would talk to some of them and they're like, like I'll figure it out. And I never wanted that. I don't ever want it to be like, I'll figure it out. When it comes to my like future of my life, like honestly, when it comes to a lot of things, I'm like, I'll figure it out. Like oh, I'm leaving for the airport like tomorrow, like where are we going again? Like, oh, I'll figure it out. Like, do you have a place to stay? Oh, I'll figure it out. Like that, I'm like very, very mellow when it comes to that. But just security in the future to be able to continue to do what I love is something that I've always been passionate about. I want to be able to do this for as long as I possibly can, and then when I have to stop, I can still do it in some kind of facet. So it was very early on where I was like, I'm gonna ensure that I can continue to live in this world for the rest of my life if I choose to.
Yeah. Well, and it's, to be honest, it's really cool that you saw it early on too, because like I think that's probably part of the reason why you've had the success you have to this point with your businesses too, is because like you weren't waiting until you were at this point where it was like you're halfway through your career and now you have this following and now you're going to start. It's like right from the beginning. And it's like, I get it, because like I'm the most like micro of influencer possible, like just no influence influencer, but like seeing where and like studying kind of like trends and like knowing where this stuff can go, I'm able to see like, okay, like, you know, this growth is amazing and like I hope it continues, and if it does, I'm going to do this, start this brand, start this whatever, to be able to continue this. And believe me, I'm still learning all of it, but like when you see it early on, you're much better able to like set yourself up and capitalize, and honestly just like have the time to make mistakes. The mistake thing is hugely important, because it's like if you were to have realized all of this, and again, this is kind of what the trend I'm seeing with athletes who are kind of on their way out. They have this like they've started their career, they're doing the CrossFit thing, that's all they're focused on, that's all they're thinking about. They get their like whatever sponsorship deals, but then they get towards the end and they're like, oh crap, like I have this platform now, but in 3 years, like if I don't do something to expand myself out of the competition, once I'm out of competing for 3 to 5 years, the luster may be lost and I might not have the opportunity. So they're panicking. And then the reality is that like in order to build something, you're going to have a year, 2 years, 3 years of making mistakes and learning from them. Like that's just how this works. And if you start it so late, it's not that you can't do it, but like you're so much better set up now because you've had so much time to figure everything out. So by the time you hit the peak, you know, when you win the CrossFit Games, you're going to have like everything so figured out for the business side of things that it's just like an easy, do you know what I mean?
And that's absolutely the whole goal. And it is kind of funny, like seeing, because the way that everything is structured now in the CrossFit space, especially with the sanctioned events, athletes have the ability to really like capitalize on that. They get to be seen so much more. They have more leverage when talking to companies about, you know, what they're worth. And I think it's something that a lot of athletes like actually overlook. I've talked to several people who, you know, really, I hate to say it, but like companies really take advantage of athletes a lot. If they can get away with free advertising, they do it. And a lot of times they have like a pretty generous amount of marketing budget, and they don't have to spend it, they won't. And a lot of athletes just like don't realize that. And I was fortunate enough that, you know, I was someone who in the beginning stages also was just like, oh cool, like you want to send me this for free? Like yeah, I'll like post on my like platform. I thought that was just like the way things went, but fortunately I had Alex who was just like, no, you're doing a job, jobs get paid. And so it was kind of like a light bulb in my head. I'm like, nah, like, damn, you're right. And I think a lot of athletes like don't realize that. So then they get into these situations where they're doing a lot of stuff for free. They don't know their own worth, and then they go throughout their competitive career, and they, you know, now they're just, you know, they haven't built anything, haven't had any companies to help build them, which is also something that I've really prided myself on. Is I have partnered myself with companies who are so invested in not only my current athletic career, but also like my future. And it is amazing to really like find good people within this space to work alongside and help like build my brand as well as my athletic career. So I've been truly like blessed in that sense. But it's shocking actually how many athletes don't have a even like a backup plan. Like if they were to break their leg tomorrow, it would be a lot of panic. Into a lot of athletes. Yeah,
totally. It's about realizing that you can monetize and set up outside of just your time on the competition floor. Like your sponsorships are great, but they're not it. They don't have to be it. You know what I mean? Like you can set up these other things as well. But Going to the sponsorship thing, I'm very interested to see like when the next wave of CrossFit competitors come up. So like people my age and younger, like early 20s, when they kind of start like breaking through and there's that new wave. It'll be interesting because like the older generation, like the 29, 30 plus year olds that are kind of like on their way out now, like they didn't come up in the influencer marketing frame. Like they weren't 20 when influencer marketing was a thing. You know what I mean? So like people my age and younger who will be coming up in the sport soon, like they likely have seen it, not necessarily through CrossFit, but even just through like people they watch on YouTube and stuff like that. Like influencer is now one of the biggest avenues for advertising for any company that has any brain. And so a lot of people are able to see and compare and learn from what they see there other people doing that they follow. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, like whether influencers, or not influencers I guess, but like CrossFitters who are now influencers, like if they're much more able to like manage that from the beginning because they have a better understanding of what they're worth in XYZ, like not just charging $50 for a story, but like, hey, no, like let's set up a deal, a contract, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because I've heard a couple female athletes get a little like offended when the term influencer like kind of comes into context. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, like I see myself as, you know, a professional athlete, and I see myself as a business owner, mm-hmm. but I'm not naive to the fact that I'm also like considered a social media influencer. I know mm-hmm. it's not my main title, but it's definitely the reason why I've been able to like monetize like mm-hmm. what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that has been almost like now, like, because you have like the Instagram models and you right. have like that. And I think a lot of like professional athletes don't want to be seen as influencers because it's almost like a put down. You're just like, oh, like, no, I'm not an influencer. But to be honest with you, it's like how a lot of like money goes into play with these like type of things. And I think it just needs like that like extra little hump just needs to kind of like clear in a lot of like athletes' minds. It doesn't have to be what you're known for, but you mm-hmm. have to understand that it is what you are in a sense. Yeah, so.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think, you know, to clarify the position too, like influencer is not, at least in my mind, you know, and generally like stepping outside of the CrossFit fitness spaces, which is where a lot of people's whole mind is, like the influencer is a big bubble. It's not just Instagram models. It's not just butt models or guys with six packs or whatever. Like influencer is like a carpenter. Like there are carpenter influencers, guys who use like guys and ladies who make things out of wood, who have 1 million followers. Like influence just means you have influence over an audience. The reason you have that influence is vastly different. You know, some people it's because they're an equestrian and they know a lot about horses, and some people it's because they know a lot about history. Some people it's because they're really athletic. But like that, I don't know enough really, I guess, from that specific angle of like not wanting to be lumped in with the influencers who are just like the photo influencers. But in general, it's just like, I see the word as just like, hey, like you can influence people's decision, and to brands, for whatever reason you can do it, they're going to align with that, and it'll give you these business opportunities. Like seeing it as a negative thing is like, I don't know, to me it doesn't really seem negative.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, by definition, like influence, if you're doing, you know, good things, it has a very positive connotation.
Yeah.
So I think like Insta famous, influencer, I think it's just it's getting tossed around more. For definitely sure. The female side.
For sure.
Like the females get it like way more than the men, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, I think it's just something like, again, like the new age, something that you need to like accept, especially in athletics, because eventually you can't do it anymore. It's just, except for, I don't know, I really believe Sam Briggs is going to be like 60 years old and still crushing the 20-year-old.
100%.
I'm like so convinced.
100%.
So like, I don't know like what's kind of going on. Like she's got some magic in her because she still kicks ass.
Yeah.
So besides her, everybody else, we're going to have a day where we have to like chill out.
Right.
Not her, but everybody else we need to play.
Yeah, so. Totally. Did you see that the Noble? You were in New York for the Noble Film Festival, right? And you saw the Katrin Brooke Tia thing, because that kind of touched on something similar, right? That was like about
Brooke did, and she got offended when someone called her Insta famous, which I 100% would also be like, like don't group me into like that category. But yeah, I think she said it like perfectly that she's a professional athlete, because she is. That is 100% who she is. And that's who she is in a lot of people's minds. I mean, obviously, like, Brooke's done a lot. Like, she did CrossFit, competitive CrossFit, like, still finishing school, which is, like, super admirable. But there are a couple people who get really, like, touchy with, like, the influencer word. But Insta famous, I think, is like totally different. Like, I would get mad as well, like, when Brooke touched on that in her video, 100%.
Right. Why? Just because I don't know why is that? Why does that lack of separation? Why is that bad? Why does that upset people, do you think?
I think, especially like coming from a female, especially one who's trying to promote, you know, that women aren't just like, they don't have just one role. I think when someone tries to categorize us as Insta famous or anything like that, a lot of times if you went and talked to random people on the street and you asked them, like, who do you know who's Insta famous, or who do you see as, you know, an Instagram mom, you know, all this kind of stuff, you start thinking like Kardashians. You start thinking people who legitimately are known for an aspect of their body. Sure. Not their athletic ability, not their mind, not their intelligence, not, you know, anything that like truly matters to a lot of us, you know, our competitive drive, our hard work, our late nights, our businesses that we run, you know, all these things that we're super, super proud of, and then all of a sudden we're deemed as, you know, like a pretty face, or, oh, she has a really nice butt, or, you know, something like that, where you're just like, you have no idea, like, the depth of my soul and my knowledge and my hard work, and how dare you try to put me into a category of honestly some people who literally are known, and what they have going for them is a face. Right. Yeah. And so it's like one of those things where, you know, we don't want to be categorized or like grouped into that, because there is just so much more to us, especially I think in the female CrossFit space. Like, the dedication, the hard work, the commitment, the things like on top of CrossFit that a lot of these athletes are doing isn't just incredible. And if you just sit down with them for 5 minutes, you would understand why any female, usually in the top of the CrossFit space, would be very offended if like they were grouped into an Insta famous.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, for context here, I'm interviewing devil's advocate. I totally understand this, and I'm like,
I'm not here bashing.
No, I know you're not. I'm just nervous about the comments I might get, but I'm just, yeah, I'm just trying to get you to give your point, but yeah. So I get it. On, again, to play, I guess, a little bit and just stimulate the conversation a bit more, like, on that side though, where do you find then, because speaking of business opportunities, XYZ, like, if someone was to be very passionate about that topic to the point where they were maybe like, you know what, I'm just not going to do Instagram anymore. I'm not going to put myself out there in that way. I'll do a YouTube channel where I post all my workouts. Where does that trade-off happen, I guess, between, like, you know, not wanting that social fame, but also needing it to help promote yourself in your career and all that? Like, do you know what I'm getting at there?
I think there's it's a kind of like a fine line, but I also think that, you know, we can be like so much more than like the whole Insta famous thing. But aside from that, if you want to do this and you want to monetize off of it, you also have to be intelligent enough to realize that you need to appeal to the masses. You can't just appeal to CrossFit. You got to appeal to a lot of different categories of people to be able to have like a certain following and a certain base that people are interested in. And which is something that I love. I love being able to talk to people who have like no idea about CrossFit, who don't care about CrossFit, but they maybe care about like strong women who are influencing women to be, you know, who they are and be proud to be a strong woman or proud to be an intelligent woman, you know. So it's more of like just understanding that there are some photos and videos that might, you know, if people are scrolling through a discovery feed, might catch someone's eye who you wouldn't initially, you know, have as a follower. But they click on one photo that they're intrigued of or a video they're intrigued by, and all of a sudden they're scrolling through your feed and they realize that they have similar thoughts, or they like your brand, they like your style, and now, you're just like, you're gaining more and more traction. And so I think you have to be smart in the way that you advertise yourself, and you can definitely do it in a lot of different ways, but you also can make sure that you break out of the mold, that you're not just, this one category. But I think to monetize anything, you have to, for lack of a better term, you have to be interesting. And you have to be able to talk with a lot of people about a lot of different things. And so as long as you just I think stay true to yourself, you can break out of that mold, but you are gonna have to advertise yourself a certain amount to be able to do what you're saying, to have that following, to be able to do what you want to do. And honestly, YouTube is a great way to do it, videoing workouts, but honestly not a lot of people outside of the CrossFit space will watch a CrossFit workout unless there's a preface that hooks them in, or it's a whole day type of thing where they get to see this really badass athlete, what they do on a day-to-day basis, and then there's the workout. So it's you got to do it in a way that will still intrigue the non-CrossFitter. Yeah,
totally. And that's that's something too that is really neat, again, to hear you say, because it's there's, even if you just the fitness space, if you look at YouTube or you look at Instagram, the fitness space is still technically a niche. CrossFit is this very small niche inside of that niche.
A needle point.
You know what I mean? And so it's realizing that there is a big old audience out there that you can do everything you want to do that you're currently doing in the CrossFit space, empower women, positive body image, the nutrition, all that kind of stuff. But there's a whole grouping of people out there who, if you didn't step outside just posting PR lifts, you might never get, you know what I mean? You post a video of you just talking about your nutrition, or just talking about a struggle you have in your day, whatever. There's a lot of things that people can relate to that, like you said, if it doesn't come up in the discovery feed and have more of a general appeal, you're just limiting your ability to motivate people or inspire people or whatever it is,
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be multifaceted, especially in the Instagram, social media platforms nowadays. You just, unless you are, honestly, unless you've won the CrossFit Games, there are going to be several categories of audiences that will not know you exist. So it is, and a lot of time, a lot of the traction is because bigger companies, Reebok, Nike, also advertises these people. So unless you have someone who has a lot of influence like that, also promoting your brand and your page, you need to not just be one thing, which I think is a wonderful thing as well. Yeah. It makes people branch out.
Yeah, well, and it lets you do what honestly is going to create the most traction online, which is be yourself and express yourself and your personality. Realize that you don't have to just be your big lifts and your highlight reel workouts, that you can literally be just yourself. Set up an Instagram live and make jokes, whatever it is that is just raw and true to you. Because I'm sure you've seen it, but from an engagement perspective, when people post really edited, really well put together photos and videos, normally the engagement is less than when you just post a picture of you and your boyfriend smiling, and that's raw. You know what I mean? Because people can relate to things more when it's real and that your personality is showing through. So it's cool because a lot of people don't realize that you can just be yourself, and people will attach to that,
It's also just kind of being real. Yeah. A lot of times, definitely celebrities, and then these very, very tiny grouping of people who are CrossFit celebrities.
Sure.
It seems we're put into this category of things that are unreachable, and we're not human. And so some of the best traction, some of the best feedback and activity I get on my page is when I'll do stories, they can ask me questions, or when I'm legitimately posting something that I did not do well in, and people love that. They love the realness of it, and that's something that I think is just, I think is wonderful, because people truly are attracted to genuine stuff, which is awesome. I think it just makes it easier for you to be who you are. And it's not I have to be a picture perfect person or a picture perfect athlete, picture perfect businesswoman, picture perfect woman, and in general, I'm human. I'm gonna make mistakes. I mess up, and not everything is beautiful and 100% great all the time. But people love that and they're attracted to it.
Yeah. Well, it's how you create longevity too with your businesses and your following, because it's like people, if it's only highlight reels, if it's only big lifts in barbell complexes, then once that's gone, people will know nothing else and they'll have nothing to be attached to. Whereas if you're able to and this is a big thing I'm going through too with the channel, is I love the day in the life videos. I love all this stuff. This is documentary and long form conversations is 100% a passion. But for me to do this long term, I need to be able to set it up so that hopefully people slowly start to just watch whatever I put out, regardless if it has a big name athlete in it. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with that. Is it's people, the more you put out that's raw to yourself, you're gonna have this little trickle effect of people who don't just come for the best photos and the best lifts, but literally they just like you. They're just fans of you as a human, not as a CrossFitter, not as anything else, influencer, whatever. Just you're an awesome person, and that attachment is what creates longevity, and it also is what helps convert through things monetarily and otherwise. So
yeah. Like you said, the trickle effect is this, if it's just always a highlight reel, PR snatch, running across the finish line, first place. There's so many of those, and people are oh, okay. But then you get into maybe the nitty gritty part of really hard work, and people are oh, this is how much time she spends in the gym, he spends in the gym, this is what the training looks like, blah, blah, blah. But then there's that next tier down of just human stuff. That's why I am so passionate with Jessica about the girls who eat stuff.
Yeah.
This is it's shocked a lot of people that, such high level CrossFitters who are so disciplined in their, nutrition can enjoy food probably even more than the average human. And so it's just letting out the real is also I think super important, which is something that I think you're doing really well in as well, is just getting into the actual real stuff. And it's not just we're not just talking about this sanctioned event that I did really well, or this event, so it's something that attracts people 100%. So
no, I appreciate it. It's 100% my interest too. Is just it's you guys are people, very interesting people, but people, and I know that audience wants to see some of the things to do with CrossFit, but this is stuff that they probably have never heard or would otherwise never. And that's kind of my goal, is to show and be able to give platforms to speak on the things that you otherwise wouldn't. Because I don't know, I get bored just doing CrossFit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to be honest, even as a professional CrossFit athlete, I get tired of talking about CrossFit. Yeah. It's actually something that I got into an argument with my father about, because stereotypical wonderful father found out I'm passionate about something, tried to learn everything he possibly could about it's one thing, and now it's always for a long time the only conversation we would have, or any kind of text I would get, would be hey, what did you get on this workout? Or if I asked you to do this, how fast do you think you could go? And there became a point where I was Dad, can we talk about have you read a good book?
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where even my own family had to learn that, even though this has become my passion and my job, there a lot of times I don't want to talk about CrossFit. And there's it's kind of funny because you always see the memes on Instagram where it's the panicked face, and it's when you're at a family gathering and no one wants to talk about CrossFit. But I couldn't be more different than what we are. We want to be normal friends, and so it's one of those funny alternate realities almost. People are shocked that we don't want to talk about CrossFit, and we're totally okay with not having a CrossFit conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot more to people that do CrossFit than CrossFit, for sure.
Yeah.
Despite how all inclusive it can be.
Shocker.
I know, right? I know. There's a lot more to buy than knee sleeves.
Yeah.
So social media side of it, your life is very public, obviously, and you control to some extent how much of that is out there. But one thing in specific, having, and it's an interesting topic I find, but having a public relationship, how has that been? Because I know a lot of the time, people who have platforms and big followings will maybe choose to hide that for Marriott reasons, whatever it is, whether it be they just want to keep personal or whatever. But how has that been? Because obviously, your boyfriend. boyfriend is such an integral part of your life, so it makes sense why you share it. But like, how has that been?
For me, it hasn't been anything that I really like thought of. Also, you know, to salute to Alex, is he's very much like a understanding and easygoing guy, to where like when the inappropriate comments, like all these things, like he's not someone who's like up in arms about it. Like it's something that we can laugh about together. And I think if he was a different person, it might be a little harder in that aspect. But there hasn't been anything where it's like, oh, like I wish I could hide this. Because like you said, I can choose what I can and cannot share. Like I decide if I want to post something. But it's also been great, like bringing him like along with me, like for the ride. And it's like we find humor in it a lot. The one thing it was, I still kind of get it, is, you know, one of my closest friends is Alex Smith. Mm-hmm. And we go on trips together. We're actually trying to like do this whole video series together. And so like I travel and see him a lot and vice versa. And we're together a lot. And it's almost kind of like a nice thing, because people will come to Alex's defense and be like, how can you do this to Alex? Like, don't you love him? And like they'll like send him, like if I like post a picture of me and Alex and be like, do you see what your girlfriend is doing? And it's like, yeah, like I'm there as well.
Yeah.
So it's it's funny. But in any sense, it's not anything that I found that I like personally needed to hide. Mm-hmm. I love having Alex like in the public eye as well. Mm-hmm. He's a big, if not the biggest reason why I've been so successful in not only my athletic career, but also my business side. He's had a lot of guidance and a lot of input in a lot of the things that I've done. And he's the reason why I got my nutrition and my programming like under control. And so it would be almost like a fake life for me if I was doing stuff where I was not sharing him and like sharing everything with him. So for me, it hasn't been like a major like thing that I've ever wanted to hide or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. What about the mental health side of all this? Like we talked about it earlier, but like the comments and all that kind of stuff, and like, you know, running the businesses, but also the stress of competing. Like there are a lot of things on your mind, I'm sure, on a daily basis that are going. Like, how have you dealt with things like burnout and making sure you're able to focus on the things you need to focus on, and just like overall being happy and positive?
The mental aspect of this whole life is definitely, I think, the thing that is everyone's still trying to like almost figure it out. And like last year, I did a lot of events, and I traveled a lot, and I did a lot of individual events, and I found that like the stress of it just built up so much that honestly, leading up to the games, like this year, about a month and a half, like the month and a half of training before the games was probably like my worst training all year. I was mentally just like, I'm ready for the season to be over. I've like done so much. So this year, changing all the things, not doing as many individual events. I'm actually doing some team stuff because it's just so fun, especially with the team I do team events with. They're a good group of people. But handling everything is more like I, again, have to kind of like tip my hat to Alex because he helps a lot. I don't have to worry about like if I'm doing the right programming or if I, you know, feel overwhelmed. He understands like everything that I'm going through, so it's easier to kind of adjust. And he travels with me, so traveling becomes a little easier in that aspect. He kind of like makes sure that everything like goes smoothly. So I lean on him a lot in that sense, but definitely the mental aspect of everything, like trying to keep everything in order, is definitely the toughest part of this life that I found. But it's so much easier when you look at it from even like an outside view, or like just kind of take a step back. And the stress I might be feeling right then and there in that moment, let me just take a step back. I get to do something that I love every single day of my life, and I'm like really tired from all this traveling, like, I have to go to Dubai, I have to go to like it makes, it puts everything in perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, you suck it up. Like, right. Yeah, sure, you're having a little bit of stress right now, but like you have such a good life. Right. And I'm so incredibly happy every single day with what I get to do on the competitive side, but also on the business side, helping people, talking with my clients. So that honestly, just putting everything in perspective really helps with like the stress. Is, you know, like bad days are going to come regardless of who you are and regardless of what you do. But, you know, just look at your overall life. Like, are you happy? Are you doing something that you love? And it's like, okay, like I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna go eat something, and I'm gonna like calm myself down, and I'm gonna get back to work.
Right.
So I think it's just like perspective is a lot of things that help with the mental aspect of everything.
Where does the line then come between like where, because you had mentioned like you look at it and you're like, oh, like I'm traveling to Dubai, like I'm stressed about that, but I'm traveling to Dubai, so it's fine. Like, do you ever find that there's like a point where you justify your feelings to, well, I'm living this glamorous, glorified life that so many other people would want to live, so I should be happy, I must be happy. And do you ever feel like that maybe overpowers how you're actually feeling?
No, honestly, no, because I'm pretty good, I think, with like tuning in with myself. And if there's like some time where I just like need some me time, if I feel like I'm actually not going to compete this month, or I'm going to like take some time just to do this, I'm going to take some time off. Like, for example, like I knew after the game there was a really quick turnaround from the Open, so I was like, it's stressing me out a little bit right now, but I know that I'm going to feel better if I can secure a spot to the CrossFit Games through the Open rather than like having to travel to sanctioned events. So I continue to work really hard, like after the games, qualified through the Open, and now I see, you know, like if I want to go to the sanctioned event, I can. And so I try to like set myself up in ways to where I can mitigate stress. And so if there's like a time where I said I was going to go to this event, but I really don't feel like it, like I feel no pressure at this point. And so it's like, I'm going to take some time. And right after the Open, that's when I took time off. Like I went and enjoyed, you know, family time. I traveled to New York, I traveled to Boston for Thanksgiving, and I wasn't in the gym a whole lot. And I was in London, a lot of people, like I've talked to a lot of people, I indulged in so much food, and it's like such a good self-time, like a self-care time for me. And I'm never afraid to take that time, the me time, and like I need to do this for my mental health. Right. So I think if you can just like tune in with yourself and like know when it's becoming too much, you never get so like wrapped up into it. And I think if you don't get too wrapped up in like, oh, I said I was going to do this, but it's better for me to do this, then I don't think it becomes a problem. But I know that there are a lot of outside factors, sponsorships, you know, public influence, where a lot of athletes probably feel like they have to do more than like maybe what they want. Yeah. Especially like qualifying, they may feel like they have to do more sanctioned events than they necessarily want to. And that's like something completely different. But for me, in my setup in my life, I just tune in to myself and just say like, I need some time.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone who maybe doesn't know how to do that, who finds themselves either as an athlete or whatever other pursuit where it's like they're doing something that they feel they should be happy in, but there's aspects they're not? Like how do you course correct? How do you identify these things and move past it? I guess specifically as an athlete might be the easiest way to talk about it, but
if there's ever like a point where like it doesn't just become like one bad day in the gym, one bad, you know, like occurrence, it's like one bad workout. But if you're finding that on a consistent basis that you're unhappy more than you are happy, then it's time to like make a adjustment in the course that you're taking. And a lot of times it's like, it can be really, really scary. If you're on a certain path and then you find that you're not happy on that path anymore, but you've created a comfortability in the path that you're already on, it's really hard to break the mold and be like, I'm going to try something else, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to take this month off, even though all of the other CrossFit community says that I need to be training this month. I just think you really need to just, if you don't know how to tune into yourself and like mitigate your own like stress and happiness, then I think you just need to be honest with yourself. If, you know, you are having more bad days than you are having good days. And then at that point, then you need to like make an adjustment and, you know, talk to other athletes, talk to people that you're close with. Again, it's wonderful having Alex because I can like vent about all sorts of stuff with him and he understands where I'm coming from. So I think that's just like the main thing is just like you got to look at your own happiness and just be honest with yourself. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like a lot of people can't be honest with themselves.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get so caught up in, like, you know, let's say they're very close to making it to the games, and you know they're really trying, but they're really burnt out, and they really don't want to have to travel for another sanctional, and they really don't, but they're like, I gotta do it, it'll make my sponsorships better, it'll make this better, make that. But it's like, I don't know, the thing I try to tell people is just like, what if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like, you could walk outside and you get hit by a bus and it's all over. And if you're constantly pursuing something in the future and making yourself miserable in the present, like, you know what I mean? Like, happiness is the only thing that should matter.
Yeah. And it's also about, you know, again, is like the longevity of happy.
Exactly.
And longevity of health. And it's like, yeah, you could like maybe push yourself to do something right now, but let's say you push through this like burnout that you're feeling right now. You travel to 2 sanctioned events, and the travel really kills you. Your body's feeling like terrible. You're mentally out of it, and then you go and like, honestly, a lot of athletes traveled to the CrossFit Games this year and ran 400 meters and got cut. It's like, and it's like, if you know, burnt yourself out so much and you fried your body so much to where like maybe that was the performance you were able to give when you knew you could do more, like how disappointed are you gonna be when maybe you could have just taken the rest of this year off, crushed it the next year, and went and podiumed at the games? I mean, you never know what's gonna happen, but again, like if you got hit by a bus, like, and you maybe sacrificed a lot of stuff, like you knew that you wanted to, you know, put more time and effort into like your personal relationships, your friendships, but you're like, no, I have to go to this sanctioned event. And then you get hit by a bus and you're like, well, now my friends are mad at me because I didn't even pick up their phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, with that balance. Like,
yeah. And it's a tough thing, because the narrative so much now, like entrepreneurship is so sexy in pop culture now. And like, everybody is like, grind, hustle, wake up at 5 a.m., my morning routine. Blah. And it's like, people get so caught up in these trends and in these things that they think are going to get them to where they want to be, and they just completely forget about why they're doing what they're doing. And, you know, a lot of the time, especially if it's something you started out of passion, like, I just love doing CrossFit, I love competing, keep loving it then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't let the influence and pressure of feeling like you need to do something else or be someone else or do what someone else is doing impact the fact that you're just loving life.
Yeah. And I think people, they get neurotic about the grind.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, are you, okay, so personally, for you being happy, are you happy waking up at 4:30 in the morning for the grind? Are you happy staying in the gym till 10 p.m. for the grind? Are you happy doing this? Are you happy traveling, like, for that? Like, it's just like, you know, are you like, you just like stop like feeling like you have to do something because society or because people on Instagram, and like that's the whole thing. People are always posting on Instagram like, work harder, do better. Like, I came from this because I worked 3 years, weekends, and like worked 2 jobs, and I came from nothing and I did this. And it's like, all right, well, like, that worked for you.
Right.
That was your bread and butter. That was your secret sauce to get where you are. But like, that doesn't mean that that's going to work for everybody. And I just think a lot of people get caught up, especially like with social media, with everyone telling them like, you have to do better.
Yep.
You have to work harder. You need to do it, you know, this way. So I think, yeah, the whole like the grind, like the whole stereotypical, like, you know, you got to grind for it. I think it's become almost like a negative thing nowadays. And it's like, it's becoming almost like a dangerous connotation to like put someone on like, you gotta do this, and it's making a lot of people just like not happy.
Well, totally. Yeah, and it's funny because it's having the opposite effect originally intended on mental health and stuff like that. Is like, instead of pushing people to step outside of their comfort zone to do something that's going to make them happy, it's doing the exact opposite. Like, it's forcing people to feel like they need. Some people just love being a 9-to-5 accountant. Like, some people are so happy sitting at their desk, doing the same thing every day, living for the weekend, and they're happy. Like, people forget that, like, that's all that matters, is just being happy. And, like, you know, to tie into the CrossFit side of it, maybe some people are just so stoked being the fittest person in their gym and doing well in the open, but they really hate traveling and they like their job that they don't want to have to quit. So, like, but, like, why do you feel the pressure to do some people are just happy where they are, and like the culture of trying to always, like, it's easier than ever to get famous now too, with like social media and everything. So like everyone feels that pressure too of like trying to grow an audience and do this and do that, and it's that tying of the entrepreneurship and the social light that like is driving people nuts, literally.
Yeah, like literally nuts. And it's
literally.
like funny. Like even like Alex, like we did team regionals, and he's someone who like loves to be competitive, like loves to compete in the sport of CrossFit. But he found that he really loves like his job. He's in the computer industry. He does, you know, things that are like way over my head, computer programming, stuff like that. But he also found a love for the coaching side of it. He loves coaching me in sanctioned events, and he loves the mental challenge of, you know, the programming aspect of it. And he found that a lot of pressure was coming from around like the athletes around us, like, oh, like, no, we have to be the best, we have to do this much in the open, we have to do this and this and this, and it became kind of, I think, a little stressful for him. And then he found like a love of something else, and he's just so easily just like diverted. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And like, I wish, you know, it's like something that I wish everyone could learn from. And it's just like, don't, just because you're on like a certain path doesn't mean that you can't, you know, like divert a little bit. Because you could just be so much happier. And like so many people, again, like back to the thing is like, they've been on this 9 to 5 and they're told that they need to be there an hour early if they want this promotion, they have to stay an hour late if they want this. And so they're doing this job that they're so miserable in, like for much longer than they need to be doing it. When if they would just like sit back and like be honest with themselves about how happy they are, they really like put some brain power into it, they could most likely find like a different avenue that would, if it's like money they're worried about, they can make them the same amount, if not more money, and they'd be so much happier. Yeah. And it's just people don't like the thought of even like discomfort or uncertainty, to where they'll just be miserable for the rest of their life because they just didn't want to like break a little bit out of the mold or just take a little bit of a risk. Yep,
I love it. That is literally everything I'm trying to share. Like that is the message I am crazy passionate about, is like not helping, but like showing people they can do that. Because like it's crazy. We talked about it earlier. It's easier than ever. Like you can literally do anything now.
Just give yourself a title and make an Instagram page.
Seriously. Seriously. But anyway, I mean, I think that's an awesome place to end it. That was really, really cool. That was a really awesome conversation. So thank you for
this was wonderful.
Sitting down.
I enjoyed this conversation as well.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no problem. We
gotta get you down here in the sunny weather.
Yeah.
So one day.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make it happen.
Not like scary.
Yeah.
Like really cool to hang out with.
No, don't worry. This was me just vetting you actually, and now I think you're
okay.
So yeah, now.
Okay.
Yeah, this was the interview process.
Sorry, I didn't like bring a resume or anything. I have to like email that to you, I guess.
Yeah. I'll give you the deets later. Don't worry. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, and
of course.
Talk to you again soon.
It was wonderful, like meeting you.
Yeah,
like
I guess so.
It's our meet cute is what I think they call it in the film industry.
Meet cute. There you go.
I learned that from a Christmas movie, The Holiday.
Such a great movie. I was literally just trying to put my finger on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So good.
So good. Jude Law.
Yeah. All right, y'all, that is going to conclude the first episode of Inside the Life of. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know how you think the conversation went, things you'd like to know more about, all of that jazz. This is going to be something I'm going to be able to do on a much more consistent basis. It's a series that is very much something I'm passionate about putting out, and something I hope you guys are going to enjoy, and I plan to be able to utilize this platform and this ability to do it from a distance, to be able to reach and connect with a lot of athletes I might not be able to in the Day in the Life series, or at least as frequently. By doing these episodes, these videos with athletes, it definitely doesn't mean I'll never do a Day in the Life video with them. In fact, it probably means I will at some point, because I already have the connection. But it's just a cool way for me to get in touch with a lot of athletes that otherwise I may not be able to, or it may take more time, and it's just another way to bring across some content to y'all. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to scroll down, hit that subscribe button for me. I can't tell you how important it is for me to be able to keep making these videos for y'all. So if you are enjoying them, please go hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.
And with the top down, yeah, I'm with my shorty, she gon' drop down, yeah. I'm on a high, I'm feeling way up, yeah. I'm in that new fit looking laced up, yeah. We living facts and I know some people probably acting fake right now. We could give a fuck about what you say right now.